This doctor tried to find the best type of exercise to live longer, and he actually found something. The exercise that prolongs life.
Is there one exercise?
Wouldn't that just be cardio?
Exercise does so many amazing things for the human body, but is there a specific form of exercise that is best?
First of all, I hope it's calisthenics.
Then we're doing a great job.
Yes.
But I don't think it's that.
So in today's video, we're gonna talk about a specific type of exercise that all of us should be thinking about incorporating into our routines, and of course discuss the specific health and fitness benefits.
Place your bets.
It's not CrossFit.
You are very close because it's like, I think I know the answer. It has to be HIIT training. HIIT training will train your heart, but you will also be explosive, which is good for the muscles.
Also, this is from a pretty credible channel. Make sure to check it out. It's a really good channel.
They show real anatomy.
So the type of exercise we're going to discuss is mostly gonna focus on taking this structure to redline. We're gonna work the heart at maximum or near maximum capacity. And in order to help us with this, we need to talk about oxygen and how efficiently and effectively a person takes oxygen from the surrounding air and gets it into the muscles that are being worked during exercise.
So the most important thing of life is to get oxygen throughout your entire body. And he says, which makes sense, that exercise can help improve this, which will improve your life.
If you improve the way your body takes up oxygen, then you basically improve everything.
As we breathe in air and therefore oxygen, that air will either enter into the nasal cavity or the oral cavity.
I was wondering, what am I looking at? But then they say nasal cavity, I'm like, it's a head.
The air will then move down into the trachea, which is often referred to as the windpipe, and then will be distributed into the right and left lungs. The lungs are big enough or large enough to get enough air into them.
I'm very aware of my breathing right now.
When it comes to this process of exchanging or transferring the oxygen from the lung tissue into the bloodstream, specifically into these pulmonary capillaries that penetrate through the lungs, that can be improved upon.
We can improve this.
The oxygenated blood will then leave the lungs and go directly to the heart, and the heart will pump this blood throughout the body. And the tissues that we're most concerned about getting this oxygenated blood in this case are those working or exercising skeletal muscles. What along this process could we improve upon? One of the biggest players in all of this is the actual pump or heart itself.
The heart is a muscle. It's a muscle and you can train it, and actually you'll hear that a lot of pro athletes have bigger hearts because they train it a lot, of course. And because of that, they're very efficient with the heart pumping, and that's why their heart rate is so extremely low, because it's such a big heart. It doesn't need to pump as often to get the blood flow through the body.
We could have the most efficient muscles ever, but if we don't have a powerful, effective pump, it's not gonna mean much. So, how do we strengthen this heart?
I think that's gonna be hard.
Hey, you are so funny.
Increasing the strength of the heart and improving the amount of blood that it can pump can technically occur with almost any form of exercise.
If you get your heart rate up, then you're actually training your heart.
I really want to know more about the specific type of exercise.
Say you were to do steady state cardio on a bike or on a jog, would you see improvements in strength of the heart and its ability to pump blood? Absolutely. But would you be leaving a lot on the table? Absolutely.
Basically, if you train your heart at 60%, it will improve and it will get better. But if you train your heart at 90, 100%, then there's obviously a reason for your heart to improve even more.
So what types of exercise do we need to do with this? Obviously, we're gonna need to increase the intensity. The best way to do this is through high intensity intervals.
Actually, right now in the app, we also have a HIIT training, a follow-along cardio routine which bumps up your heart rate, trains your heart, and yeah, it's a free workout app. Check it out.
Let's start with what constitutes a high intensity interval. These are obviously going to be highly intense bouts or forms of exercise that have intervals that last anywhere from 2 to 6 minutes. Some people will do shorter intervals like 30 to 90 seconds and increase the number of reps. The key is that you're gonna go full bore during that time.
Whoa, his environment changed. There's now a lot of people around him.
Whoa, that's actually...
It's kind of crazy.
It's pretty scary.
So he's talking about, for example, 4 minutes on the treadmill running, and then 4 minutes off, for example, like lower heart rate, and then 4 minutes on, and do that times 4, and you have a decent workout.
You'll get better at pacing yourself and figuring out the pacing as you do this more frequently.
Because the reason why a lot of people do HIIT training for like 30 seconds on and then a minute off is because going at it for 100%, literally, you can only do for a few seconds, but you can be at 80, 90% for a few minutes and really push it at the end, so you've literally asked everything of yourself at that point. Pacing is very important for HIIT training.
The key is that you don't have much left in the tank at the end of that time. If you pick a 2-minute interval, you wouldn't want to be able to have enough left in the tank that you could go for 3 minutes. If you pick 2 minutes, you'll rest 2 minutes, and then you'll do it again for about a total of 4 to 6 times. The goal here is to essentially get to max heart rate or close to touching max heart rate. And max heart rate, there's a kind of a crude generalized calculation of 220 minus your age.
What types of exercise you can do? Running up the hill, treadmill, cycling. Personally, I like to use full body. For me, it's really hard to get my max heart rate at a treadmill, for example, because at a treadmill, it's kind of scary as well. So if you have to sprint at like maximum of the treadmill, or if I'm rather on a bike or even on an air bike where I can also use my arms, then I could go all out easy. But it's still challenging also mentally to really push yourself that far.
So how often should we be doing these high intensity intervals?
That's a good question. How many times should you do this? Once a week or every day?
I think it will say try 3 times a week.
You can see benefits from doing them every other week.
Wow. I mean, obviously, you can see benefit. Okay.
Okay, that was a very nuanced statement.
That was a nuanced statement.
Yeah, but let's see what he says.
We'll see.
But ideally, more like once a week. Most of us won't need to do more than that and still be able to get the majority of the benefits of this type of training. They're hard and not necessarily the most fun type of exercise and can be associated with a little bit of, well, a lot of discomfort.
That's why I like doing this in the morning, because then your day can't get any worse.
But before we talk about those physiological adaptations, I do need to say, probably not the wisest thing to go from couch straight to high intensity intervals.
If you're watching this video and you've never worked out before because you just clicked this video and you want to live longer, which is a great choice. If you've never done anything like this before, start working out.
Any exercise is better than no exercise. Exactly, that's what we're saying.
And then try these things. This is a bit more advanced, so definitely with a warning.
And of course, when trying this out, you can also just do it a bit at a lower intensity, just get the feeling and then see how your body responds.
One of the greatest physiological adaptations that occurs is an increase in cardiac output. And this is a product of what's called stroke volume and heart rate. So stroke volume times heart rate.
This equation actually perfectly explains why athletes have the same cardiac output, but then with a lower heart rate. It's because the stroke volume is higher. And then you can have a lower heart rate to have the same cardiac output.
But how much are we talking? How much can we really increase the cardiac output? Well, if you take someone who is not very well trained, but has a normal functioning heart, and you get them to exercise, you'll see that their cardiac output is anywhere from 13 to 15 liters per minute.
Per minute?
Holy shit, that's
Injecting so many liters, whoa.
The elite endurance athletes, their cardiac output is anywhere from 30 to 40 liters per minute.
What?
I've heard this before, yeah.
It's insane how amazing keeping fit is for every aspect of our health, yet remains one of the hardest things to stay motivated to do, especially while depressed. I want to talk about this because a lot of people will experience benefits from exercise for mental health. Almost 99% of people will feel better when they actually exercise and take care of their body.
And because of this increased cardiac output, things like resting heart rate will improve or go down because the heart is more efficient at pumping blood.
One of the reasons why I always keep moving during my workouts. If I do an exercise and I sit down, my heart rate goes from 130 to 50 within the rest time. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing a workout, so I need to keep moving.
Now we should probably answer a pretty important question. Is high intensity interval training the only way to improve VO2 max? And the answer is no. You can actually improve VO2 max by doing steady state cardio at a moderate intensity. You'll see some improvements in VO2 max, but you will definitely not be able to maximize the improvements as you would if you included high intensity interval training. Well, why should I do this high intensity exercise? Let me give you some ideas of why I think it could be beneficial. Let's say you have a little kid or a little toddler and they escape from the house and dart towards a busy road. You have to sprint after them, swoop them up, and run them back.
He's really trying to convince us with real life scenarios. Is the convincing not like you will live longer?
Fitness has a strong relationship with mortality risk or risk of death. As VO2 max improves, mortality risk or that risk of death tends to decline. As we age, especially in the later decades, our fitness qualities really can decline precipitously, especially if we don't maintain some level of fitness.
Resistance training, steady state low intensity cardio, high intensity interval training, mobility, all of them are important.
All of them are important, but if you want to live longer, then apparently high intensity is the best one.
And that makes a lot of sense.
If you're doing this to burn calories, this will burn a lot of calories, but steady state cardio, so lower intensity, might actually help you better because you can do this for longer and thus actually probably burn more calories.
So apparently HIIT training will make you live longer, but I mean, any type of exercise is better than no exercise.
Another way of living longer is actually doing 10,000 steps a day. So make sure to check out this video where we see a guy do it every single day. And if you want to see some crazy change to his body, click here. Subscribe to this link and hit that button.